So it looks like Microsoft might have some unannounced titles being in the works, and I want to talk about it because new games is always good. But before we get off the video, definitely hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video. You can always subscribe to the channel for weekly content, and don't forget to go over there on Twitter and follow me at Lord Addict ILP. Without any further ado, let's talk about this game. What's going on, you guys? Gaming Ad here, coming at you for another video. It looks like Microsoft might be expanding their horizons. They might be greenlighting new projects, maybe not necessarily new IPs, but it does look like Microsoft's taking full advantage of that $7.5 billion purchase that they made a couple months ago. And now that they formally own Bethesda, it seems Microsoft wants them to produce more content. And to me, more content is always fantastic. So let's go ahead and get straight into this. Now, I know some of you ain't gonna really appreciate the studio that I'm about to bring up because the game that they focusedly really made is one of those games that came out really rocky, but it ended up correcting itself and it turned out to be a fan favorite by a lot of people. What game am I talking about? I am talking about Fallout 76. Now, I know this game came out really buggy. It's probably one of the biggest bugs fests that Bethesda has ever produced, but we have to give them props. They took that criticism and they went back to the board and they fixed the majority of the issues people had, and they actually turned that whole brand around. And let me tell you guys right now, in this industry, something like that is very hard to do. Now, what studio made this? It's Bethesda Game Studios, the studio that is in Austin, Texas. Like I said, they came out with Fallout 76, and it looks like they helped with that multiplayer in Doom, which, to be honest with you, I don't really know too many people playing that, but that's besides the point. This studio in Austin seems to be hiring for an unannounced title. Now let's go ahead and read exactly what the overview of the studio is. Bethesda Game Studio is seeking a qualified server engineer to help create and improve systems for an unannounced title. Come join our experienced team of developers who have a legacy of creating AAA games. This is a terrific opportunity to work with some of the best people in the game industry. The successful candidate will have a knowledge of the experience in the design, implementations, and continuing to support of a large-scale client-server application using primarily C++. Now, that was a lot to talk about and a lot to read to really engage in what was said here. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Obviously, they're looking for any kind of person that's qualified in making and improving systems for an unannounced title. Now, the part that's kind of cool there is it is unannounced. I don't know if that means it's a new IP, like I said earlier, or if it's just an existing IP that they're bringing forward. Like I said, this team made Fallout 76, and for those of you that don't like 76, that's okay, but it did turn itself around, and I think for the most part, it did end up being a success story. But at the end of the day, the biggest question we should be having is, what is this studio making? And the fact that right here, they put into continuing to support of a large-scale client server application kind of makes me feel like it's going to be around the same realm that Fallout 76 was. Now, is that bad? Obviously, we'd have to see the game. We have to make sure that they have learned from the mistakes that they made with Fallout 76, and when this game comes out, it's going to run flawless for the most part, because obviously, now you're never going to have a game to the scale that Fallout 76 was. That's assuming that they're going to be making something on that scale and to not have any issues whatsoever, because to me, when it comes to these online multiplayer things, these type of MMO-like games, you're gonna have some form of issues, but the issues we had in Fallout 76 cannot happen again. I honestly feel like Fallout 76 injured the Bethesda brand, and I personally feel like it's one of the reasons that people are kind of skeptical when it comes to Bethesda these days. Sure, their old games had bugs. Almost every Bethesda game has had bugs. Hell, they've even had game-breaking bugs. But at the end of the day, the fun factor always surpassed the amount of bugs that was in the game. Fallout 76 was not the case. It was way more buggy than it was fun, and I honestly do, like I said, I think it injured that brand, and I don't think Bethesda can afford to have this happen again. At the end of the day, Bethesda is a huge studio, and they can afford to work on multiple projects at once, so I'm assuming they're going to continue working on Fallout 76, and they're going to have another team working on something that's not Fallout 76, and I think that's fine. fine. We need better representation of what these studios can do and not necessarily just one game to one studio. I personally feel like studios should be working on at least 2 projects because these big AAA teams have sometimes 300 all the way up to 1,000 people working on a game at once. And I feel like with that many people, you could split them up and have a way better chance of making an amazing game if you're working on multiple games than if everyone's just working on one game. Sure, there are scenarios where if you split the work up and they're working on 2 different titles at once, you might have incidences where that is actually bad for both projects and not necessarily if they all were working on one, you can have a focus on one game. But studios such as Insomniac that works for Sony, they've showed that if you do it right, you can make multiple games at the same time and both of them are quality. Now, obviously we have a big elephant in the room. It's Microsoft. Microsoft is most likely, well, it's not most likely, Microsoft is funding this. And the question is, do they want another chance of having a Fallout 76 happen? And I think they do, because sure, there's a chance that Fallout 76 happens and it repeats and we have a huge bunch of issues with this new project, but then there's that chance that they learn from their mistakes. And when it comes to how to properly make these network games, they know because that didn't work in Fallout 76. Let's do this because this is how we fixed it, and let's maintain this because this is how it works on Fallout 76. And I think that would be amazing. And we cannot forget Game Pass. The type of game that Fallout 76 is a cry for what Game Pass is about. They want that games as a service coming out there and continuously updating so people can keep that subscription for months at a time because they want to play that game. We got Sea of Thieves, we got the Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76, and it's looking like this new game that Bethesda Game Studio Austin's making is most likely going to be just like Fallout 76 in terms of how they're going to structure the game. And I think that's great. More games is always a good thing. I just hope that they learn from their mistakes with Fallout 76, and I hope that when this game comes out, it has plenty of content to do and it feels more like a complete game that Fallout 76 did not feel like. But anyway, tell me what you guys think. Is this something you guys want? I know people care more about, you know, an initial Fallout game than something that's a multiplayer focused game. But it's like I said earlier in the video, Bethesda is a huge company. They got multiple studios, and I feel like we can have both. We can have the other studios make stuff like Fallout, the other studios make stuff like Elder Scrolls, Starfield, and we can have Austin be making these massive multiplayer online world. As long as they learn their lesson, we can have both. There's no reason we can't have both, and I think Microsoft is really trying to give the consumers, especially anyone subscribed to Game Pass, both, because they know at the end of the day, being more diverse, having more genres in Game Pass is what's going to get the most people in Game Pass, and having these type of multiplayer games that continuously support the community is one of the best ways to keep people in Game Pass. But anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. This is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace.